Hey everyone, Luca here with MyMixLab Studio DMI. This is the third part of the Dillon Francis Goodies course. And what it is essentially is a real life experience of taking a quality production from Dillon Francis and just doing a stem mix master. A stem mix and master, different than a full mix. I'm not pulling all the fader down, but actually I'm taking over. Whatever Dillon did, my role is refinement and elevate his vision, not reinventing his vision, okay? So at this point, we're gonna focus into vocals, which is extremely simple. It's a sample, and then after the vocal, a little listening session to get and make sure the level is right or any type of additional retouch, and then we're gonna dive into mastering. Let's do it. I'm gonna do a little bit of surgical de-essing. Great things about Magic Flow, you can detect multiple stage of de-essing from single words. So let's go to the critical essing part. And we can have independent threshold to get words, like in this case. You can see from the meter of Magic Flow. And usually I like to start actually with just filter and de-essing. Take the insert off, preamp off. There is a heavy sidechain on the vocal, but it's part of Dillon production. And that is, it's very simple. It's just like the right click on the mouse, you can just scroll and kind of like open and close the range. So we're gonna lose a little bit of clarity, but we're gonna keep under control the essing, and we're gonna give clarity back using the EQ, which is this curve. Most likely, I'm gonna go with the curve number 3 as a nice open shelf. So this EQ is sitting post the essing. So after I do that, I might shave a little bit the top and then compensate what I'm losing. So good. Now, if I want to just get a little bit more mid-range presence, I do the mid-bump in the preamp. The dynamic EQ, especially the D, gives a little more excitement. So if I want to make sure that the vocal is sitting better with the groove, even if there is already a sidechain, I'm going to do another stage of sidechain in this case. And I like to always, if I have any other sidechain on the track, make sure that's the same envelope and the same detector. If I don't have it, like in this case, I'm going to do a new one. So I'm going to grab compressor, proceed to sidechain from the kick, shave pretty much everything. We're gonna turn the kick in a little clicky or little rim shot sound. I just wanna have completely free from vocal the kick. Maybe it's already like that on the track, but just to be safe, I'll do it on top of the sidechain on the vocal. A good way to do it is to get a simple F bar or a bar. Let's do that, and we go external. So now we're gonna get the sidechain triggered by the kick. All right, let's do 1 bar, actually F. And I like to tend to exaggerate sidechain and then do a parallel instead of reducing the threshold. So 36 dB. Okay, I do 36 dB of sidechain and then I blend 50-50. 60. Much cleaner, and that's going to be our sidechain trigger. We might going to use the same sidechain in other channel. So let's check the vocal before and after. Yeah, definitely the rough was very scoop on the mid-range. It's missing a little bit of clarity. Now we achieve two things. So we have clarity, but also we have, with the S-ing from Magic Flow, we have the S's under control. So I think that's why this plugin is so great. You're able to control S-ing, rebuild high frequencies. So essentially you control the peaks and you rebuild the tonal balance. It's fantastic. So for this, there's nothing better than that. Great. So there is one thing we can do besides little effects like this. That's a cool part that we can definitely use to build some nice stereo information on the vocal. So when you have a lower octave, like this case, if you don't give a different space as far as like spreading the lower mid-range or the top ends, you are risking to get lost under the main vocal. So let me give an example. So if we have this take, I notice a little bit of lower frequency and lower octave, but we're not maximizing the fact if you're not spreading one of the two to create separation, right? So I want to try option 1. It's split just in 2 parts. And we're going to make the lower part, in this case, very wide, and the bottom part, we let the higher octave to cover the sides. Okay, so. So we are not worried about going out of phase. If you look, we are going out of phase, so we go negative, because it's a sound that it has no transient on the low end, there's no kick, no bass, no synth. So we're not gonna get any issues, but you're gonna get a nice effects, I think. All right, let's say in B. I like it. If you want to get even wider, we can use a little bit of depth. And do a touch of parallel limiter, but just a touch. Maybe we can a little bit of preamp. All right, let's see. To enhance even more, a little bit of mid-range EQ, just to bring essentially this part up in the mix a little bit. I noticed this little spike. We're gonna cut this one. All right, let's play with the music. Let's see how we feel. In addition to that, we should apply the same sidechain we had on the higher vocal to make sure that they're moving together. Love it. This can be maybe 1 dB lower, so let's see. The vocal is overpowering the lead, so I want to bring the lead maybe 1 dB higher. All right, we might actually have finished the mix. And usually in a normal scenario, what I do, I take a break, come back, I sit with my phone and I write notes really quick, almost as a listener. So I take the role of be the producer with the listening mindset, not the mix engineer mindset, and I listen the mix and I take notes. It might be the snare a little bit louder or vocal a little brighter, any type of notes. So for the purpose of this course, we assume that we approve this mix. Now it's time for mastering. So what I do before mastering, I do maybe a 1 minute listening, going between the rough and the mix, and then from there, we're gonna simply get into mastering. Let's do it. Yeah, so if I can sum the result of the mix is better transient, more clarity, more separation of the hats, wider, feels more alive in some way, feels less compressed, and that's it, that's the mix. So we're gonna kind of like come back now with the mastering. Let's do it. All right, normally if I master my own mix, mastering is extremely simple and it's just level related. There is nothing I want to do on mastering to fix what I should fix into the mix. So I'm not looking to get a wider master or a brighter master. So I'm looking for a louder master essentially from the mix. So to avoid to keep adding plug on the stereo bus, I'm creating a new bus. It's called master. If I work in the box, obviously, if I do hybrid of analog, it's a different process. Maybe one day we can cover that as well. So that's our master. Let's put this in a different color. Very simple emulation of analog clipping to emulate the clipping of the converter, which is something that I do on the analog side. We do 2 stages of limiting. We're gonna use a little bit of lift and a little bit of Pro L in combination. If I'm not able to get loud enough, then I'll try to be creative to do a little bit of multiband or whatever I need. Or if it's not dense enough, I might use a little bit of Dyne 1 to get some density. Let's try them from clipping. So if you follow my MyMixLab for a while, you know the approach of clipping for me is to not raise the level, but reduce the peaks. And doing art clipping, it's almost a way to shave the top of those peaks and trick your ears. So you want to make sure the limiter that is sitting post-clipper has less to do and less limiting to do. So how I can control the level of clipping, I might use the multi-analyzer from Melda. It's great for that. And I'm able to see the level of reduction, okay? To make it simple, I like to work in 1 bar to make sure that I can process the information easier. So I'm doing distortion on purpose. I go completely flat, and now I go and I find the sweet spot. And to me, it's easier to go distortion, so I do like -14 clipping, and then I go up to the clean side and find the middle ground. All right, I want you to focus on the waveform. Let's make it slower. You're gonna see the peaks, especially the kick, the first kick every time, to go higher of the standard waveform. And that's the one we don't want. We wanna clip, make it clip to 0 even of the beginning of the chain. All right, so you see this peak in the middle. This is definitely the no clip version, but sonically, there's no difference. So I'm going for that. So now the next step, it's a more musical type of limiter or clipper depends on the algorithm. If I go for 3, it's kind of in the middle between clipping. It's a soft clipper, to be honest. And I do a mid-side only, and we are going to clip a little bit. Now, I need some level to trigger. For this reason, we are going now that we understand, it's like minus 10, minus 9.8. What we're gonna do, we're gonna snap to 0, and we're gonna push 10 dB. So to be precise, 9.8. Now we're getting 0 level into the lift, and we're gonna lift just a touch. So I have an opportunity to open a little bit the side to compensate the mid. I'll do that. I always feel that if I'm clipping and I open up a little bit the top ends, it's get a little nicer and feels a little bit uncompressed on the top ends. I like that. Just a dB. I think we're in the right spot. So let's go to the final stage, and we start now to do what? To look our meters. So we are gonna open BX, and now Pro L is going through 2 steps of clipping and limiting. We should have enough edge room even with the control peaks. Our goal is to say around -5 RMS on this one, -4.5, -5. We're gonna have distortion on the first hit on the drop. We're gonna deal with that a little later. A little too loud, so we're gonna step back here. So essentially, I'm not using the Pro L to push level. I'm using the Pro L to control what the lift is doing, which is sending mid-only clipping with a bump of few dBs, and then the Pro L is creating a final ceiling, but it's a soft ceiling. I like to say unlink as far as transient and release. You get a little cleaner, medium, fast attack and release, and no over 18 millisecond look ahead. If I do too much look ahead, the song will lose a lot of power and punch. And actually, I'm gonna show that. The roundness of the kick and bass, we're gonna lose that with that. So we got about 10 millisecond look ahead. Let me set up the attack and release time. I have a little trick to do that. So how you can find the most transparent settings on Pro L, option on the keyboard, you move the gain, automatically you reduce the output. Free from distortion, so go back down. We are about -4.5. So once again, if you feel that you're not getting a clean limiting from Pro L, push the level, reduce the output, and just work with the attack time. Most of the time, modern, it sounds best. It's kind of like between, I would say, a soft clipping and the limiting, but we're not changing the envelope and the transient, which is great. Last things I want to do, I want to make a cleaner impact on the drop. And this is a very simple move to do that. So the first kick after the release time of every compressor. So to reduce the impact, which is like the art compression or art limiting, very simple techniques. You take the first kick, and you reduce about 1 dB. The 1 dB is enough to have a clean attack. I'm gonna do this on every drop, but just for the purpose of this course, you're gonna see the result. So now if you go here, I want to make sure there's no distortion on the side. Mono. and we have the master ready. So last step, well, there's more I can do. I can do automation on the VCA. You can do multiple things. We should have 4 hours, but to just prioritize things, that's what we do. I'll make sure to have the start and end of the track right. I don't want to kill or cut my transient, especially at the beginning. It's a mistake that I see all the time. That looks good. Also looks good at the end. Let's double check. Yeah, that's it. Option E, and that is, my goodies, MyMixLab master. And we're going to do a 32-bit float. And same frequency, which is 48. That's it. All right, guys, this was the 3-part course on Dillon Francis Goodies Mix and Master. The interesting part of today's course, in my opinion, is the fact that Dillon did an incredible job to take the song close to the finish line. And my job as an engineer is to take his vision and elevate, not reinventing. So we started the moment that he stopped mixing, and I start mixing again. So you might take some of these ideas and just incorporate in your workflow. All right? I'll see you next time on MixLab. Bye-bye.